The Trump administration's tariffs on China have accelerated the pace at which Chinese companies are moving their production lines to Southeast Asia. Lenovo, which holds about 12% of the U.S. laptop market, has also joined this trend. The company recently announced that it will transition to fully local manufacturing for the Indian market within the next 3 years. However, this move has led to backlash, with some Chinese netizens accusing Lenovo of being a traitor company. On March 10th, at the Lenovo Tech World India 2025 conference, Lenovo outlined its major manufacturing plans for the Indian market. According to Shailendra Katal, Lenovo India's managing director, 30% of Lenovo's PCs sold in India are currently made locally. The company aims to increase that number to 50% next year and reach 100% local production within 3 years. Lenovo has already produced 12 million PCs in India and plans to increase production to nearly 17 million units to meet demand in India, Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and other international markets. Beyond its PC business, Lenovo is also focusing on India's rapidly growing demand for AI computing power. The company has opened new facilities in Bangalore, including a dedicated AI lab and a production site for AI servers. Lenovo explained that there are two main reasons behind the shift. First, demand is strong not only in India, but also in other international markets like Southeast Asia and the Middle East, and manufacturing in India helps lower logistics costs. Second, recent tariff increases by the Trump administration have directly affected Lenovo's operations. The U.S. imposed a 20% tariff on Chinese goods and a 25% tariff on Mexican goods, both of which hit Lenovo's supply chain, as the company operates 5 factories in China and 1 in Mexico. Faced with these rising costs, Lenovo decided to expand production in India. As the world's largest PC manufacturer, Lenovo operates in over 180 countries and regions and employs more than 60,000 people globally. In India alone, Lenovo has 14,000 employees, including approximately 400 staff members at its Bangalore Research and Development Center. However, many people in China are unhappy with Lenovo's decision to shift production abroad. With the job market already under pressure, some netizens questioned why Lenovo is giving job opportunities to India instead of supporting employment at home. One online commentator pointed out that a factory with a production capacity of 17 million units could create tens of thousands of jobs, not to mention the additional employment across industries like component manufacturing, logistics, and software development. They compared Lenovo's move to Xiaomi's earlier decision to bring the smartphone supply chain to India, accusing Lenovo of now handing over the laptop supply chain in a similar fashion. Lenovo's plans to move production have been in the works for some time. As early as May 2019, Lenovo CFO Wang Weiming told CNBC that the company had manufacturing bases worldwide and was prepared to shift production if U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods increased. He emphasized that Lenovo was fully capable of relocating affected production lines to other regions. Lenovo's leadership has also sparked controversy. In a foreign TV interview, Lenovo CEO Yang Yuanqing described Lenovo as a global company, not a Chinese company. Although he later revised his statement to say Lenovo is a global company rooted in China, the comment drew widespread criticism online. The backlash intensified as angry netizens demanded that Lenovo get out of China and called on the government to stop supporting the company. The public outcry eventually forced CFO Wang Weiming to issue an apology, claiming that his earlier remarks were inaccurate and had caused misunderstandings. Despite the apology, Lenovo's negative image in China goes beyond a few public relations missteps. The company has faced ongoing criticism for issues like charging higher prices in China than abroad, offering poor customer service, and reports of financial instability. For example, investigations by media revealed that a Lenovo ThinkPad W54 with almost identical specifications was priced at $1,375 on Amazon's US site, but sold for almost double that on JD.com, a major Chinese e-commerce platform. This price discrepancy angered many Chinese consumers, who accused Lenovo of betraying the country. The backlash was so intense that Lenovo's founder, Liu Chuanzhi, reportedly became furious and joined senior executives in publicly defending the company. In February 2025, a consumer in Zhengzhou named Mr. Wang spent 28,000 RMB to purchase a high-end Lenovo laptop from the company's US website. He also paid an extra 2,200 RMB for a 4-year international warranty service, extending the warranty until November 2027. When the laptop's fan malfunctioned, Lenovo's after-sales service in China told him that spare parts were limited in the region and suggested sending the device back to the US for repairs. The headquarters customer service even said it's standard procedure to return the product to the country of purchase. Frustrated, Mr. Wang questioned, what's the point of paying for this global warranty if they can't even fix a fan? After the incident gained public attention, Lenovo promised to coordinate the necessary parts, but the company's America First service approach sparked nationwide outrage. Lenovo also faced accusations of privatizing state-owned assets. Critics claim that the company, originally affiliated with the Institute of Computing Technology at the Chinese Academy of Sciences, has become the private property of Lenovo's founder Liu Chuanzhi and his family. When Lenovo was first established, CAS owned 100% of the company's shares, but its ownership has now dropped to less than 30%. This revelation fueled a nationwide movement calling for a boycott of Lenovo. Many believe that Lenovo's business model is built on importing foreign technology, adding some packaging or integration, and selling it under the Lenovo brand. This middleman approach has further cemented its image as a comprador company, one that merely serves foreign interests. Given this, public criticism of Lenovo comes as no surprise. In China, private companies without strong political backing rarely grow large or successful. Lenovo has introduced product lines based on domestic processors like Longsun and Zhaoxing, specifically for government and state-owned enterprises. However, when political backing weakens, even business magnates can face significant challenges. Despite years of public backlash, Lenovo has received continued support from Chinese government agencies, suggesting that powerful political factions are shielding the company behind the scenes. Lenovo is not the only company moving production out of China to avoid U.S. tariffs. The anything but China strategy has become increasingly common among Western tech firms. This trend is especially pronounced in the semiconductor industry, which lies at the heart of U.S.-China technological tensions. Since taking office in January, President Trump has raised tariffs on all Chinese imports to 20% and imposed a 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico, though the implementation for some products have been delayed until April. This new round of tariffs is far broader than previous ones, covering items like smartphones, laptops, and tablets for the first time, while increasing rates on other goods. At the same time, the U.S. has tightened export controls on China's semiconductor industry, restricting access to advanced chips and manufacturing equipment, further accelerating the shift of supply chains away from China. China remains a major hub for global laptop production. As of 2023, about 90% of the world's laptops were manufactured in China. However, with leading PC companies relocating their production, TrendForce predicts that China's share will drop to 80% by 2025. Meanwhile, Thailand's laptop exports have grown nearly eightfold over the past 4 years. The pressure of U.S. tariffs is pushing other American tech firms to follow suit. On March 3, 2025, HP CEO Enrique Lores announced that by the end of the fiscal year, less than 10% of the company's products sold in North America would be made in China. Instead, 90% of its operations will shift to Thailand and Mexico. This announcement came shortly after HP laid off 9,000 employees as part of its Future Now cost-cutting initiative. According to HP's financial report, the supply chain relocation plan will incur $1.2 billion in restructuring costs, but is expected to save $300 million annually in operating expenses. These savings include reduced tariffs, labor cost differences, and logistical optimization. Labor in Thailand costs only 60% of that in China. Insiders reveal that at least 5 HP suppliers are building new production facilities or warehouses in Thailand. 2 of these suppliers, at HP's request, have been ramping up their production capacity in Thailand since the beginning of this year. HP's chief financial officer, Karen Parkhill, previously stated that if the U.S. imposes a 10% tariff on Chinese imports, the production cost of each laptop could increase by tens of dollars. Given the razor-thin profit margins on the PC industry, typically around 5 to 10%, this financial pressure directly influenced HP's decision to shift its supply chain. When HP CEO declared that the company would move 90% of its production out of China, the news hit the foreign trade sector like a bucket of cold water, especially in coastal regions like Guangdong, Jiangsu, and Zhejiang. In Dongguan, an electronics factory held an emergency meeting overnight. On the assembly line, a supervisor clutched a freshly printed layoff list while pacing nervously down the corridor. In Suzhou's industrial park, truck drivers huddled under streetlights, scrolling through their phones and discussing the third cancelled container order this month. Beyond the loss of production capacity, HP's exit is dealing a heavy blow to upstream and downstream supply chain companies, exacerbating concerns about unemployment. At 3 a.m., the lights remained on in an office building in a Ningbo industrial park. There, 36-year-old factory owner Mr. Chen stared at an email from HP, his fingers trembling. HP had officially informed him of an 80% order reduction. Mr. Chen's experience highlights the plight of small and medium-sized suppliers. Factory closures or layoffs among these businesses are further intensifying employment pressures, particularly for low-skilled workers. Signs of HP's departure from China have been evident for the past 2 years. Their exit strategy has unfolded in at least 2 stages. In early 2023, HP convened a meeting with its Chinese supply chain partners, clearly stating its intention to relocate laptop production outside of China, with Thailand, Mexico, and India as preferred destinations. In 2024, HP announced plans to shift 50% of its production capacity out of China and required its supply chain partners to follow suit, aiming to achieve a China-free supply chain strategy. HP's de-Chinification policy has triggered a ripple effect. Although the company insists it will continue to serve the Chinese market, consumers are increasingly concerned about fewer product options and shrinking after-sale services. Data from the third quarter of 2024 shows HP's share of the Chinese PC market fell to 9%, with a year-on-year decline of 23%. For a growing number of Western tech companies, a new mantra is clear: anything but China. As the US-China tech war intensifies, many major American tech companies are accelerating their departure from China. Beyond HP, companies like Dell, Apple, and Microsoft have already shifted portions of their PC production lines to Southeast Asia, while investing more marketing resources to expand in these local markets. As early as 2023, Dell announced a series of de-Chinification strategies in response to evolving international conditions. According to supply chain sources, starting in 2025, Dell will begin removing China from its midstream and downstream assembly operations, focusing first on products for the U.S. market. For laptops, Dell plans to have 60% of its U.S. market products manufactured outside mainland China by 2025, reaching 100% by 2027. Reports also indicate that by 2024, Dell aims to stop using chips made in mainland China. This includes chips produced by both Chinese companies and foreign firms with manufacturing facilities in China. Cisco, a tech giant that has operated in China for 30 years, is also pushing de-Chinification efforts by reducing its reliance on Chinese-made components. Cisco has reportedly instructed its suppliers to strictly enforce the certification of origin requirement to ensure that products provided are not made in China. Microsoft is also moving quickly. In December last year, anticipating increased tariffs, Microsoft urged its suppliers to produce components outside of mainland China and to accelerate the relocation of Xbox assembly lines. From smartphones to laptops, the global electronic supply chain is shifting rapidly away from China. Overall, de-Chinification reflects both a rational corporate response to an uncertain environment and an unavoidable trend amidst the US-China rivalry. More concerning, however, is the risk of technological blockades. Dell's plan to phase out Chinese-made chips and Cisco's insistence on non-Chinese components suggest that de-Chinification is not just about moving production, but also about cutting China out of the global tech supply chain. If key component production is restricted, Chinese companies may face a factories without chips dilemma, hindering their ability to upgrade technology and move up the value chain. Analysts point out that what concerns foreign companies most is not tariffs, but U.S. restrictions on advanced chips. Due to the limited domestic production of high-end chips, China's high-end laptop manufacturing remains heavily dependent on imports. If international tensions escalate, whether through trade conflicts or technological embargoes, the supply of advanced chips would be severely impacted, limiting the release of high-end laptop models and weakening their market competitiveness. Exports have long been regarded as a lifeline for China's economy, particularly since manufacturing and foreign trade account for a significant portion of its GDP. According to data from China's National Bureau of Statistics, exports accounted for approximately 20% of China's GDP in 2023, with electronics playing a major role in that figure. However, China's reliance on exports and low-end manufacturing has reached a bottleneck. As global supply chains accelerate their departure from China, the exodus of PC giants poses significant challenges to this economic pillar. Questions remain. Will tariffs rise to 30% or even 60%? Will new measures be enforced in 2025 or 2026? And most critically, will these shifts deal a major blow to China's economy? Chinese economist Wang He stated, China is the world's largest electronics assembly hub, and industrial intermediate goods produced in China account for 12% of the global share. China's exports make up slightly over 14% of the world's total. If the decoupling between China and Western trade accelerates, the impact on China's economy will be fundamental. Wang believes that as the Chinese government resorts to low-cost dumping of its surplus capacity worldwide and U.S.-China tensions intensify, Western countries and emerging industrial nations are increasingly using tariffs to counter China. He emphasized that China is now surrounded by a tariff war, and its international economic position will only deteriorate, making an already difficult economic situation even worse. The exodus of foreign companies is further worsening China's employment landscape. Over the past few years, the employment scale of foreign enterprises in China has shrunk by more than 15%. A report by Nikkei on February 17th noted, under the reform and opening up policy, China developed by attracting foreign investment, talent, and technology, but now its economy stands at a crossroads. Kwang Shi-cheng, chief researcher at the Nomura Institute of Capital Markets Research, stated in an October 2023 report that amid the normalization of U.S.-China conflicts, the trend of foreign enterprises withdrawing from the Chinese market is accelerating. Kwon remarked, from manufacturing facilities to consumer goods outlets and service-based businesses, foreign companies are leaving across almost all sectors. International trust in China's economic future has fallen to rock bottom. A prime example is Foxconn, the Taiwanese company that manufactures Apple's iPhones. At its peak, Foxconn employed approximately 300,000 workers in China, but that number has since dropped to 120,000. The company has shifted significant portions of its production base to countries like India and Vietnam. A February 13th report by the South China Morning Post highlighted conditions at Foxconn's largest iPhone factory in Zhengzhou, Henan province. It revealed that Foxconn's workforce in China is expected to shrink even further this year. The employment crisis is not only an economic issue, but also a matter of social stability. With economic stagnation and a weakening labor market, China's youth unemployment rate has reached historic highs, far exceeding that of other nations. This suggests that China's economic difficulties are far from over and poses a growing risk of social unrest for the Chinese government.